Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It is time to close out a championship and crown a champion. It is round 8 of the Southern Cross ESports Winter Series here at the Mount Panorama Circuit, the 8th and final round of the 2023 season. And we are at the greatest circuit in Australia, some would argue one of the greatest circuits in the world, the beautiful Mount Panorama Circuit. It's going to be a difficult one for many of the drivers out there, with a pretty full grid here of Porsches ready to make their way around this challenging circuit. I'm Rhys Gardner, bringing this to you live on YouTube, Facebook and Kick. Dan Yeaman's with me in the comms box and handling production behind the scenes. Dan, we're going to have to make this intro really quick because we were a bit late getting started. Fortunately, we are just in time for the start of race 1.
Actually, press the unmute button, then everyone can hear me. Sorry about that. It is on me, yeah. Filling in for Jay Kennedy this week, when normally he handles this series. And now that I want to actually run something, it's not showing up in the stream, which is brilliant, because I was going to go to the grid. This is just going from better to worse.
That is totally fine, Dan. It's Jay, unfortunately incapacitated today. Ended up burning his thumb on an oven tray. So filling in, and we are right into the grid for the first heat here. I'm just going to take you through the top 10 as things stand. Rick Kuznetsov is on pole position. He managed to set a lap time 2:05.21, 0.3 ahead of his 9.5 SimSports teammate Simon Mazzomo. Harry Dodds and Justin McLean are on row 2. Row 3 is going to be Bren Braja and Mike Pepper. Ben in third place in the championship. Neil Woodburn and Clint Harvey 7th and 8th, with Sam Christensen and Jackson Pringle rounding out the top 10. Then, of course, we have Cameron Edwards, one of our series organisers, starting in 11th alongside Peter Biancucci. Akers, Darua, Punter, Hughes, McMenamin, Hearn, Caffrey and Michael Thompson are going to be rounding out the top 20. And we have a solid 30 cars ready to take the start here, as everyone is just about filed onto the grid here. And we only have a few seconds left before the safety car pulls away. And I think it's going to be a difficult night. It's the usual format for Southern Cross ESports, Dan. A 20-minute sprint race followed by a 45-minute feature. Top 12 get reversed for race 2, and there is a compulsory pit stop for 4 tyres. Between 5 and 40 minutes elapsed. So I think survival is going to be the name of the game here.
Yeah, probably, as the field is pulling away, and I still can't get the overlays to throw up on screen, just the main problem I'm having right now, because without those, obviously, you can't show any of the usual information you'd normally get. But with the drivers peeling away, Rhys, I best at least put them up on screen and hopefully work as fast as I can to get things up where they normally should be. So apologies for this once again. I actually had a break on me like this, so I'm trying to get that one sorted for you as
totally
fast as I can. We'll talk about
that's okay.
It should have
it's
been
all right. We'll continue on the first lap. We'll make sure, kind of working. We can see everyone out on track, which is good enough. Through Murray's Corner to begin begin the race. Rick Kuznetsov, championship leader on 985 points. He is the favourite for the title tonight as the green flag flies and we are away. 9.5 SimSport 1 and 2 as they head into Hell Corner for the first time. Justin McLean trying around the outside of Harry Dodds for third, but it looks like Dodds will win the race for third place out of the first corner as everyone makes their way through turn 1 cleanly with minimal damage. That is good to see. But of course, the 9.5 pair of Kuznetsov and Mazomo way ahead of everyone else as they come into Griffin's Bend for the first time. Dodds continuing to defend from McLean, bit of side-by-side in the back, and oh dear, we have two cars in the wall, Jonathan Akers, and it looks like Peter Biancucci as well. That is a big incident there. Unfortunately, resulted in damage, heavy damage for both of those drivers. They have been able to keep going though. It looks like a pit lane start for Michael Holdcroft. He's just made his way through on them as Kuznetsov and Mazomo make their way up to the top of the mountain. Things are looking pretty orderly. Just as I say that, car 440, that's Barry Punter around at Reed Park. Careful on the re-entry. Ooh, just manages to avoid getting into the drivers coming up on him. And eventually he does manage to get that thing pointed in the right direction. And continuing on. Up the front, Rick Kuznetsov easy in the lead from Simon Mazomo as the field enters Conrod Straight for the first time.
Indeed, right. That's not playing. Okay, just going to move it from every single thing. Oh, being told there's trouble down at the elbow as well.
Sam Christensen. Yeah, it's big trouble for Sam Christensen. He is slow moving away from the elbow. Looks like he spun on the exit and unfortunately, it was due to Mike Pepper going slowly on the exit. Christensen got right into him. So, usual first lap incidents here at Mount Panorama as the drivers try to sort themselves out going into the chase. Up the front, lap 1 is already over. Rick Kuznetsov leads the way again as, oh dear. Yeah, oh wow, so that's 5 cars off at the chase. That's a huge incident there. And already seeing Anthony Jewell and Sam Dalrua making their way into the pit lane, presumably to repair some damage. The rest of the drivers have managed to get themselves going again, but that's unfortunate for quite a few drivers here, only a lap into first race of the night.
Yeah, not great in the slightest. I'm just trying to figure out why I can't get things playing. Boy, he's still overlays not up and running. Apologies there. As the car toes on us whilst we were looking at it. Go back 2 pictures in front. This is around P6. Just put Harvey on back. Behind that, we do have front runners there, still somewhat good to get away. As you said, off the start there, because that's on the Simon Zone on the 9.5 SimSport show, starting to a small margin, but Harry Dodds here in third place now. Focus on screen. He's not letting them get away all that quickly here off the start of this.
No, certainly not. Mazomo, it seems, has been very strong here at Mount Panorama. Remember, he was only about 3/10 behind his teammate Kuznetsov. But it seems that he's not quite getting away from Harry Dodds and Justin McLean either as we get our first penalty of the night. Peter Biancucci given a black flag. Evidently the incident we saw at Griffin's Bend was deemed to be his fault. So that's going to be a drive-through penalty for the number 50. Into the chase then on lap 2. Rick Kuznetsov leads by 0.7 of a second, and judging by his performances this season, it's going to be a tough job for anyone to overcome him. And he's come into this round with, as I said, about a 35-point championship lead. So I think he would have to have an absolute shocker of a night for anyone to take the title away from him at this point. Still going to be giving us a good race though. Equidistant, the top 4 across the line to start the third lap here. And Ben Breyer in 5th place is starting to gain on these guys. It'll be interesting to see if he can make an impression here on the top 5. Breyer still somewhat in the hunt for 2nd place in the championship at the very least. So the 9.5 cars have a bad night. Breyer might just be able to take the title back. We'll have to wait and see. It would have to be a very interesting scenario to play out for that to be the case.
Yeah, there's still having issues with trying to get this over. It's as if, I mean, I'm not liking this because it feels like to me right now the only way to get over is when it needs to shut the stream down. I don't want to do that, obviously, with the way everything kind of didn't start off great or was planned. So,
we can always take a little break during the warm-up in between sessions and see if it fixes it then. But we'll keep that in mind as we try our best to bring you the race here. Looks like a couple of cars going off at the S's, Harry Dodds being one of them. And oh dear, big problem as well for Justin McLean. That was third and fourth that have come together. Harry Dodds looks like he just caught the grass on the exit of McPhillamy and got absolutely T-boned by Justin McLean.
Okay, let's go to our first replay of the night. Here's Harry Dodds on the top of McPhillamy, as you said. Oh, nowhere for McLean to go by the looks of that.
Yeah, very difficult section of the circuit there. Concrete walls on both sides, no space to recover if there is an error. This was McLean's view on board, and Dodds just loses it ahead. And I mean, you could see that McLean was getting on the brakes, but by that point, you know, you're going incredibly fast, and it's difficult to slow down and take avoiding action. I don't think there would have been much he could have done anyway, because Dodds was sprawled across the track. They will both probably have to take some repairs there. What that does do is leave the 9-5 duo alone in the top two positions of the race. There goes Dodds for the pits. It ends up promoting Ben Bralia to third, Clint Harvey to fourth, and Mike Pepper in fifth. But I tell you what, the battle for sixth is really starting to climb up in intensity. Jackson Pringle holding off Cameron Edwards as they come up Mountain Straight. Neil Woodburn and Trevor Hearn in very close pursuit, and it looks like there's going to be a move. Cameron Edwards in the slipstream. He's going to try around the outside at the second corner, but he thinks better of it and falls back into line. So Pringle protecting the inside of Griffin's Bend, and the inside is where you want to be in that corner. He'll keep it up at least until they get to Cornwall Straight.
Good news.
Hey, there we go.
I really shouldn't have been panicking. I have a backup for this kind of thing, and I forgot to just go. I've never had to go to the backup like this for the first like this, but I do have them somewhat working. I just have to be, and yeah, it's great. Oh wait, no, that's not right. Okay, cursor can be seen. I've got to now be ultra cautious about that too. Lovely. But hey, we'll get overlays now of sorts. Where would we like to look next?
I think we could stay on this for the time being, because this is looking quite entertaining. It looks like Edwards hasn't had the best of runs down through the S's, and so now Neil Woodburn and Trevor Hearn are going to be right in the slipstream. That was a lock-up from Edwards too. So I think Neil Woodburn is smelling a move at the chase, just needs to stick in the slipstream as Jackson Pringle skips away ahead.
It's this one here, that's right, with the cup. I don't broadcast with the cup cars either. Often enough it seems as here we go. Roll. Woodburn tries for the inside there at the chase, but looks like not able to commit under brakes. Reese Cam Edwards will hang on to the spot for now as they get back on the throttle. So it kind of works there. In the meantime, as well, yeah, because that's obviously fastest lap of the race goes to 5.4 something that one. Pretty couple of are in the background.
Oh
there.
No, that's Hearn that went around at the at Murray's corner. Looks like he grabbed the inside curb and just lost traction. So he's fallen out of touch now with the battle for 7th spot. He's going to have to keep an eye out for David Hughes, who's rapidly gaining on him there. Jesse McMenamin and Sam Christensen, meanwhile, these two in the middle of your screen at the moment. Christensen, of course, had that trouble out of the elbow on the first lap, and he's looking to try and make up positions. This looks like it's going to be a change for 11th place. And crucially for McMenamin, that puts him in the magic 12th spot. Right now, he's got pole for race 2. What he needs to be careful of is the steadily advancing Brady Stanley behind.
We'll see how that works there for these drivers in the next little while. It was a fairly straightforward fight. It seems for Christian to get on by and already pulling a nice little margin as well as
Yeah, harsh penalty, I think you were about to say, because Justin McLean has been given a black flag. And I don't know, I think there wasn't really much he could have done to avoid getting into Harry Dodds when he spun. But regardless, potentially it was for a slightly different reason. We'll have to wait and see for...
If I heard that right on the radio, incident on lap 2,
which lines up with...
the incident was on lap 3, apparently.
Yeah, okay, so it wasn't for the spin.
Well, then again, I can't see anything in my event log that involved... so it didn't involve him on lap 2, so that might be the case. Maybe the lap's just being called wrong.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I just went through Justin McLean's second lap and I saw nothing. So we'll have to wait and see about that, as we are already more than halfway through this race. And the battles are still going on here. The 9-5 duo of Rick Kuznetsov and Mazomo holding station at the very front here. Ben Braja alone in third spot. That is your championship top 3 in the top 3 positions. Mike Pepper still holding off Clint Harvey for 4th as well. There isn't much between those two. We'll have to wait and see how that battle works out. And right now, the next closest battle in the top 10 is between Trevor Hearn and David Hughes for 9th and 10th. But I tell you what, the battle for 12th is going to start heating up soon, Dan, because Jesse McMenamin is losing a lot of time to Brady Stanley. Stanley's last lap was a 206.4. It was a 208.5 for Jesse McMenamin. He is rapidly dropping.
Can you note that in video? I'll bring it up here on the screen for you. Christensen, McMenamin, and Segs McMenamin's actually not completely dropped off the back of Christensen here in the 31 car. But yeah, critically, as you say, of these 3 on screen, Stanley far and away the fastest car on track. And looking to the inside of the elbow even for a moment, but it looks like it might have just been a bit of a dummy, given that he wasn't close enough to get up the inside on the brakes that time by at least. But if that lap time is looking to go down, I'm sure he'll be looking to make a run at it anytime soon.
Yeah, let's see what the draft is like at the chase. New fastest lap from Kuznetsov, meanwhile, 205.306. He's almost matching his qualifying pace at the moment. And this battle for 11th place has closed up massively now. Christensen not able to get away from McMenamin. And Brady Stanley just making up loads of time on the brakes at every single corner. Meanwhile, down Conrod straight, bit of side-by-side here between Sam Darua and Bent Johannesson. And yeah, goodness me. Looks like Darua completing the move there, as we were also looking at Peter Biancucci and Philip Caffery, I believe. Looks like they've worked themselves out, and Biancucci quickly driving away, trying to get a recovery on after his penalty very early on in the race.
Yeah, indeed. So, quickly fade away.
Stanley's into 12th. Good move done at Griffin's Bend.
Okay, let's take a look at that one there.
It looks to me like it was just a simple case of the slipstream.
We want this one.
We do. Pulls out of the slipstream around about here and over the top of the hill. Goes flick to the inside of Griffin's Bend. It wasn't really defended by McMenamin. Stanley gets to the inside, uses the camber of the road to complete the move, and there we go. That is your current race 2 pole sitter right now. Considering his pace, he might want to have a go at Christensen for 11th as well, but will he want to do that? He'll still have a front row start for race 2 if he does, but could potentially lose a bit of the advantage he might otherwise have into the first corner.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I haven't had a chance to, or haven't been broadcasting or commentating on this series regularly So be curious to see with the rolling starts and all how that being potentially on the outside of the front row for a rolling start here at Bathurst, potentially? Or would it be the in... Oh, yeah, because surely the grid spots here for split, we had standing starts this weekend.
It would be the inside if you're on pole position.
So yes, that is true. Whether he would want to be on the outside of the front row by trying to go into P11, as you say here, by taking the spot of Sam Christensen. That could be a question mark indeed. These two still pretty close on track, Ben Johansson and Philip Caffrey. Way back away, but not close enough for a move to happen. And Cam Edwards giving Neil Whitman a bit of a hustle up here, it seems. This is finding over 7th place on the track at the moment.
Yeah, so it looks like Cam Edwards has actually been passed by Neil Woodburn at some point there. Remember last time we looked at that battle, he was ahead of Woodburn, so Neil putting on a good performance there to get himself back into his starting position. Jackson Pringle is the driver in the top 10 who's made quite a few positions up. Started in 10th, up into 6th, but I think the driver that's gained the most positions in the top 10 is Trevor Hearn. He is up 9 positions, which is a fantastic run from the number 6, but we keep an eye here on Clint Harvey in the number 54. From Jackson Pringle's perspective, the battle for 5th. Pringle has been looking fast all night, hasn't he? Didn't quite qualify as well as he might otherwise want to, as it looks like Hearn is defending again from Cam Edwards, just behind these guys. There was a trade for position between them. Looks like they've sorted themselves out just for the moment. So we'll keep an eye here on Pringle as he chases down Harvey. The race entering its final 3 minutes, and Kuznetsov and Mazomo are already on Mountain Straight, so this is the start of the penultimate lap, I'd say.
Yeah, should be the case. Yeah, just under 3 minutes to go, and yeah, the leaders up here at turn 2 now. Yeah, they'll easily get round with about, I'd say, 2 minutes. Sorry, not 2 minutes, about a minute or so on the clock, maybe. We'll see how Kuznetsov's pace looks like here after this lap, and see where that should put him in due course. We also have Pringle now the closest car to someone inside the top 10. Yeah, still got this. There's a 3-way fight here for this position 10. Both Sam Christensen and Brady Stanley now catching David Hughes here in this back part of the race. See if the moves happen here as well.
Yeah, let's see indeed. David Hughes at the front of this pack, focusing on Brady Stanley meanwhile, who's still got the race to pole position, but starting to round up on the back of Sam Christensen. Looks like David Hughes potentially didn't have the best of runs up the first part of this lap. In fact, it seems like a pretty consistent loss of time over the course of the last 1.5 laps. So I'm waiting to see what kind of move is potentially made by Christensen and Stanley on the way down Conrod Straight. Cameron Edwards is a long way ahead of these guys. You just see him there in the distance. It looks like Jackson Pringle has made his way past Clint Harvey for 5th spot at the chase. Nicely completed move there. So as Kuznetsov gets into the 204s to start the final lap of this race, it is still on for this final position in the top 10. No moves being made there, but could there potentially be a run at Murray's? Looked like Hughes didn't get the best exit from the chase. Leaves the door open for Christensen to go for it, but it looks like Christensen isn't quite ready to go for the lunge just yet. He wants to wait for one of the longest straights on this circuit. White flag in the air for these guys. Through Hell Corner they come. And it looks like Jackson Pringle, Brady Stanley just looks the most controlled out of these three, doesn't he? I think he is smelling a move. It seems like Hughes has enough of a gap that he doesn't have to worry about Christensen for the time being, but Christensen definitely has to worry about Stanley. As into Griffin's Bend they come, all of them keeping a nice consistent line through there. Stanley is going to find it difficult to make moves across the top, and I feel like it's not going out. Oh, actually, he had a big go at the cutting there, didn't he? But not going to happen. He ends up losing time to Christensen, who's now on the attack versus Hughes. Update on your other positions in the top 10. It's Neil Woodburn and Trevor Hearn now who are together. Cam Edwards now a long way behind the both of these, and Hearn is barreling down through the S's. He's trying desperately to make up some time. We also see that Hughes is still holding off Christensen. Could almost be a battle down Conrod for these guys, but I think we should flick up to the front, Dan, because Rick Kuznetsov is about to come across the line. He goes into Murray's corner. And this is going to be yet another dominant victory on the board here for our championship leader, who I would say has just about secured the title at this point. Brilliant drive from Kuznetsov and Mazomo there, but the fight is still on for every position further back. Jackson Pringle ahead of Clint Harvey, but this is going off here for 10th spot. David Hughes now on the defensive at the chase. Can Christensen get it done around the outside? He certainly can. Can Brady Stanley get into 11th spot now, or will he decide to hold on for 12th? He's trying to find a gap to go through. Look at him go, diving up the inside of Murray's, and it looks like right at the final corner, Stanley is going to make his way up into 12th. Well, it's not all bad news for David Hughes. He's got pole for race 2.
Yep, Karush, as I said, still in that at top 12, which will be important to him here, of course, once we get to that part. Well, that next race in just a couple of minutes' time here is we've got the last couple of fights here on track. Peter Biancucci versus Barry Punter as they come towards the line there. Nice pass from Punter down the straight, but Biancucci wants the spot back here for 19th maybe, but can't commit up the inside on the brakes. We'll have to settle for 20th here in race 1 by the looks of things. And that's going to just about do it here. I think Reese just looks this is about our last two together on track, and Ben Johansson in 65 comfortably cleared of Michael Thomas. Now Murray's on their last lap in race 1.
Well, that completes the race for those guys. It looks like the last driver to cross the line on the lead lap will be Dale Atkins down in 26th position. Jonathan Akers went down a lap, and Justin McLean retired, as well as Connor Nixon and Anthony Jewell. Which is a shame, losing 3 drivers from this race, as that looks like big damage there for Greg Levine. Actually, yeah, it's not Dale Atkins who was the last car to finish the lead lap. Levine evidently getting some big damage on the final lap there.
Looks like it, yeah. So he sneaks across the line just in time there before the session will transition over. So we'll walk you through those race results here real quick from race number 1. Tonight, 10 laps in 20 minutes here, so that checks out on pace there. Yeah, 2.5 seconds in the end for Rick Kuznetsov over the teammate Simon Mazomo. Apologies. Oh yeah, I can't do that tonight. I've got to do that. So, anyways, here are the results across the line. I believe those are effectively official. We didn't have too many penalties, and I believe any penalties issued were served there during the race, although definitely my head a bit all over the place tonight here. But nevertheless, your top 10 race.
Yeah, indeed. Kuznetsov and Mazomo a long way ahead of everyone else. Braja, though, gets onto the podium. So, once again, your championship top 3. Finish in the top 3 positions in that order. Pepper, Pringle, Harvey, Woodburn, Hearn, Edwards, and Christensen are your top 10. And then we flick back to Brady Stanley and David Hughes running out the top 12. They'll be your top 2 for race 2. McMenamin finishing in lucky 13th, with Holcroft getting into 14th spot from 22nd. Not bad for him. Harry Dodds, though, after starting 3rd, getting involved on lap 3, I believe, with that spin up the top of the hill. He will start 15th for race 2. Brody Watts started 25th, made his way up to 16th. 24th place start for Dean Hunt makes his way up to 17th. Sam Daurua and Barry Punter all losing positions along with Peter Biancucci. Bet Johannesson making up 7 spots to 21st. Michael Thompson, John Lee, Philip Caffrey, Dale Atkins and Greg Levine are your last finishers on the lead lap. John Ackers finished a lap down, and McLean, Nixon and Jewell are your 3 retirements from the first race of the night. So Dan, I suppose we gear up now for the start of race 2. 3 minutes left in the warm-up session. And, well, if this race was anything to go by, we have a longer race with a mandatory pit stop coming up. I think things are going to get even spicier.
Yeah, they probably will. That's for sure. 45 minutes time certainty, and yeah, a compulsory pit stop for the tyres in this Porsche 911 Cup car. Any time between 5 minutes and 40 minutes in this race. The fact that it's all 4 tyres will mean that the drivers won't be necessarily gambling on trying to get a certain set of tyres changed and leaving a certain set of tyres on. But nevertheless, it should be interesting to watch. Although I do, if I remember correctly, with fixed setup and fuel tank restrictions, restrictions as well as the fixed setup itself, drivers won't be necessarily coming in straight away at the 5-minute mark, if I've got my head on things correctly there at least.
Yes, indeed. Well, 4-tyre pit stop in the middle 35 minutes of the race. We've usually seen drivers go for the pits at about the halfway mark of the race, but sometimes the overcut is worth quite a bit in these cars because the tyres tend to take a little bit to come up to temperature in most conditions. The conditions the drivers are going to be racing in are actually quite warm. The track is 34 degrees Celsius with a 19-degree air temperature, so I think the tyres will be heating up within a couple of laps, but still, if you're still on warm tyres, racing your way through in the mid-phase, you will get an advantage over someone who's already pitted and has had to take the time to get those tyres back up to temp.
Yeah, that will be important to note. One other thing I can do now, Reece, that we've got a moment, is perhaps also show the championship standings as they were coming into tonight at the very least, to give some sort of reference there for people watching along. Because as you said, yeah, Rick Kuznetsov looking like he's in the hot seat for the championship with the results that he's had in the back half of the season, but still only came in with a 35-point margin and just needs to, we'll have to still have a very good race here to convert that into the championship win here tonight. But, well, if that race 1 pace is anything to go by, I think that it could be a formality, and was able to stay out of the trouble to make it possible at the very least.
Well, let's do some quick maths before we get started for race 2. The first race carries 60 points for the winner and 55 for the second place driver. So Kuznetsov will extend his championship lead by 5 points, a 40-point lead. And the feature race awards 120 points to the winner, with a 10-point difference between second and third. I think for Kuznetsov to lose the championship at this point, Mazomo would have to win, and Kuznetsov would have to finish 8th or lower. Because if he finished 7th, it would be a tie and Kuznetsov would win on countback. So keep an eye on that. If Kuznetsov finishes in 8th or lower in this second race and Simon Mazomo somehow takes victory, then Mazomo will be champion. Braja, meanwhile, 907 points coming into this round with 3rd place in race 1. That is an extra 50 points on the board for him. So yeah, he's going to have to look for Kuznetsov and Mazomo to both finish outside of the top 10 or retire for him to take this championship. So that's how things stand going into race 2. Here's the grid for race 2. David Hughes and Brady Standley are your top 2, with Sam Christensen and Cam Edwards in 3rd and 4th. 5th is Trevor Hearn starting alongside Neil Woodburn, with Clint Harvey and Jackson Pringle in 7th and 8th. We got Mike Pepper and Ben Braja rounding out the top 10, and then we have Simon Mazomo and Rick Kuznetsov, our top 2 from the last race, starting on the 6th row. From then on back, Dan, it's where they finished in race 1. So I think the likes of McMenamin and Holcroft, they are going to look for some big position gains, as will Dodds.
Indeed, yeah, that will be the working theory here as we'll watch the field start pulling away and just flick through the last couple of cars. Set to be starting from the rear of the field here. Good to see, 30 cars, 15 rows of drivers who will be ready to take the start here just in a moment's time. They're rounded out by Connor's Anthony Jewell, although, if I heard correctly, someone's on a pit lane start. We also had Neil Woodburn disconnect just before the drivers started pulling away for this race, this second race here. So, fingers crossed, we get ourselves off to a good start and to get this final race of the season for the Southern Cross ESports 2023 Winter Series race underway. They hold for the green here under the gantry.
Oh, that's awkward. Quick start from everyone behind, and already trying to make up places is Trevor Hearn, and there's a spinner. Looks like that might be punter potentially. No, it's Braja. Ben Braja off at turn 1. And that's going to be very unfortunate for him. I think he will have lost the championship from this point on. He was already an outside chance to begin with. Into the second turn they go. David Hughes in the lead. Stanley still holding on to second. Cameron Edwards getting up into 3rd place, passing Trevor Hearn on the inside. Now Hearn is trying to fend from Sam Christensen. But Christensen gets it done around the outside of the cutting. And oh, that's a big spin there for Clint Harvey. And that's in an awkward spot. He just completely lost traction out of the cutting. And it looks like, unfortunately, McMenamin having a couple of issues too. He's just been passed by Dean Hunt and gone back to 15th. So already dramas happening on the first lap once again.
Crazy start to this one. These cars, cold tyres. At the front, mean a lot of understeer is quite probable, and that's almost side by side into skyline on that one. That's certainly something you normally see as they file their way down into the dipper here in the mid-pack. And we've got ourselves now pretty stacked field still, with the exception of up front. Make it side by side as Bradley Stanley is going to finally look to go past David Hughes here for the race lead on.
Yeah, Hughes went deep into Forest Elbow and unfortunately didn't get the exit he needed onto Conrod Straight. That allows Cam Edwards a chance to have a go at the second spot on the podium. Just behind them, it looks like a dive up the inside from Trevor Hearn on Sam Christensen. It doesn't work out for him though. Christensen with the inside line for the right-hander, and now Hearn under attack from Neil Woodburn coming into Murray's corner. Woodburn tries to get some overlap. Hearn sees him coming and leaves him the space on the inside. That's going to result in 2 positions lost as Jackson Pringle as well will get by. There's our top 2 from race 1 just behind as well. Kuznetsov and Mazomo battling with Mike Pepper. They managed to make their way past him, and Pepper with a poor run out of turn 1 gets passed by Holdcroft and Dodds.
Look at that there, because that's was jammed up underneath Trevor Hearn's rear wing. On board with Mazomo just behind for a moment here to sort of show you this as they come up in. And there's that trying to run the outside of Hearn at Griffins, and then on the brakes again in the middle of the corner. Isn't able to find the crown on the inside and run with the camber down to the apex. So he'll lose the spot to Kuznetsov. Might be able to hang on here from Mazomo as they go side by side all the way up through turn 4. Trouble for John Lee towards the back of the field as well, it seems.
Yeah, Connor Nixon and Greg Levine as well. 3 cars off at the second turn here. That might be our first replay of the race here. It's unfortunate to see. Looks like just a big lockup from John Lee. He went straight into Connor Nixon. This is how it happened.
Okay, right, so apologies there. Oh, yep, that's
yeah.
I'll just back that one up and look at it once again. So, yeah, what was looking up a good setup here was side by side dual edges. You can see the side smoke race, and unfortunately for John Lee, he's just got all kinds of cross. And then Levine arrives on the scene there in the 93. He clips the already spun Connor Nixon as he came through the corner.
That's a shame there for Greg Levine. Not a victim of the incident, just drove straight into it. Well, they've managed to get back going, and it doesn't seem they've gotten a huge amount of damage, but they're still going to have to get repairs done, as my goodness, Harry Dodds now trying to get past Trevor Hearn. Looked like a bit of contact there. Hearn gets bumped wide and loses 1, 2, 3, 4 positions potentially here, with Mike Pepper now trying to get up the inside into Murray's corner.
Just also, you'll see here as he pulls it up, he'll be able to just hold the outside, sorry, and make Pepper compromise his exit there in the number 15.
And Brian black flagged. Okay, so a bad race going even worse now for our number 5 driver, and I get the feeling that might be what happened at the start potentially. Coming down to turn 1, Braja did get a very big start and actually got into the back of someone coming off the line. So
I'll see if I can find it for you.
Yes, while we're finding it, update on relative positions here. Stanley in the lead by 2.5 seconds. Cam Edwards still not safe in second spot. David Hughes, though, having to massively hold off Sam Christensen as Rick Kuznetsov gets past Neil Woodburn coming down into the S's. That was a very brave move there by the Triple Eight championship leader. Mazzomo, meanwhile, had to back out. He's going to have to wait a couple of more corners to get this done. And will Harry Dodds try and find a way through on him? That kind of run through Forest Elbow, it looks like it might be a possibility as Dodds just grazed the wall on the exit of the hairpin.
See if the slipstream also of note on this lap, the compulsory pit window has opened up, also out on the circuit, had passed the start finish line after it opened. So yeah, as you said, we should expect drivers to wait a bit before they come into the pits. Is that Pepper? Yes, it's Mike Pepper.
Oh, yeah. And that's in the braking zone for the chase. Fortunately, everyone doing their best to avoid him there as he tries to get it back going. Just in time, too. But still, he's going to have to make another 3-point turn to get that thing going again as fastest lap from Jackson Pringle. Let's see what happened here on the start here. Braja on the outside of turn 1. I mean, he got tapped around there. I'm more interested in what happened on the initial start. Okay, maybe it was for that unsafe re-entry.
Yeah, so that's what he's been pinged for by race control.
Right.
Yeah, it's just spun tag as well. On the replay, safety car's been called by race control. I think I heard Mike Pepper requesting a tow out and track in the 15. So he
hasn't been able to get back going.
So that there is the reason why. Pardon me, that's happened. So safety car out. Oh, that's gone not well at all.
No. I think we should get another replay and see how Pepper got into this situation in the first place. It started at the entry to the chase. It was just massive contact with the wall, and that car was undrivable. The only place he could go was into the barriers.
Yeah, all right. So, okay, yeah, perfect. Actually picked up the right crashed moment, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, so the car's already completely shot. No wonder, even with this short run back to the pits for Mike Pepper, that this was a right handful. And yeah, he's up on the curb and the grass, and it just grabs the grass, and that's what spits him. And then it noses into the wall there, and the actual one of the service roads there, by those things, or driveways potentially right towards the start-finish area. And yeah, unfortunately for Mike Pepper, that will be his race as good as done with that tow request.
Well, the request has been granted, but the safety car is going to come out in just a moment. Now, I'm thinking that pretty much everyone is going to come into the pits. Because if you're going to take a pit stop, it would have to be under safety car. to lose the least amount of time, but evidently I am instantly being proven wrong.
Yeah, no one's going to come in, so everyone's confident that their fuel numbers are going to require them to go longer in the race before they can safely make it home on the fuel they're provided. And just still watching here, yeah, as you say, no takers whatsoever for the pit lane by the looks of things. Yeah.
Yeah, righto.
0 drivers to the lane here in this safety car with just under 36 minutes left in the race. So, looks like, yeah, the fuel margin a little tight here this evening.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. I mean, and why wouldn't it be? I mean, this is a track with super long straights. Plenty of the lap is spent at full throttle on these cars. So, shows you why I'm not on the grid. I'm up here in the comms box, because if I had made the decision to come in under this safety car period, I would have been out of fuel by the end, potentially.
Yeah, maybe it's a case of having had to gamble on more safety cars. I'm curious to see no one's going for that gamble, perhaps towards the back of the field even, to fill it up, take the tyres, and then just maybe, hey, another safety car comes out, you're all right from there. But alas, it is what it is, I guess. So we'll you leave it there and we'll wait to see when everyone will.
And I'm listening in on all of the drivers. None of them are clutching to save fuel either. So I get the feeling that they're just going to wait for the very middle phase of the race. I'm actually amazed that it took us this long to get a safety car, Dan, because I would have expected with some of the incidents that we saw in race 1, we would have required a safety car. But miraculously, pretty much every driver involved in an incident was able to get it back to the pits under their own power. It's only in race 2 that we have seen the Cayman GT4 emerge.
Yeah, it is true. A couple of nasty ones in race 1, that's for sure. There we go. There's the clutch finally from Brady Stanley. Reese down the S's here. He'll take gravity to help him roll it down a bit. Also, as you can see at the top of your screen, confirmation from race control that we will be going green at the end of this lap here. So, this, by the way, being lap number 6 of the race. That's on lap 5 now. If it's lap 5 in my time, it's actually not laps completed, it's the actual lap he's on. My bad there. So there you go. 5th lap of the race will be lap 6 when we go green once again.
Mike Pepper in the pits reporting that the fast repair won't work, unfortunately. So I think that might be the end of Mike Pepper's race. That's a real shame there for Mike, as he was looking good for a solid top 10 result until he unfortunately clipped the curb at the entry to the chase and went heavily into the wall. No other cars were involved in that incident. It was just Pepper all on his own. So, safety car in this lap. Immediately Nathan Allen pulling away from the rest of the field. Will fall under the control of Brady Stanley, who will maintain 80 k's an hour until it's time for him to get on the power. When they enter the restart zone, should be on the run down to Murray's Corner. I'm just interested to see whether or not he's going to try and pull a surprise on anyone and go early or late. I'm not too sure.
I guess that's what we get to wait and see for here. So we'll get to the exit of the chase. The safety car is now in the lane, so I do believe he has control of the restart. Anytime from back on the exit of the chase, he's going to wait under the Armorall Bridge, past pit entry as well. I suspect the apex of Murray's Corner would be an ideal spot for him to go here, as he'll actually wait a little longer here, Reese.
Oh, yeah. And waits until right before the line to put the power down. We are back to green flag racing in the final race of the Southern Cross Esports Winter Series. Immediately, Rick Kuznetsov getting up the inside. Mazomo, my apologies. Getting up the inside of Neil Woodburn, who goes off at turn 1. Harry Dodds immediately following him through, as well as Jackson Pringle and there's potential for Holcroft and Hearn to try and make a move on Woodburn, depending on how quickly they catch up to him as well. But looks like the top speed of the cars has stalled a bit. That's very deep there from Trevor Hearn, and he goes very wide at Griffins. Manages to keep it out of the wall and out of other cars, though. That was well recovered, but unfortunately he has lost crucial time.
Yeah, I suppose losing time is better than giving yourself damage unnecessarily there with an ambitious move around the outside of Griffins on the restart lap, at least attempted there for Trevor Hearn. So thankfully carries on. But yeah, that could have been a whole lot worse for him. So up and over the top of the mountain towards the filling park here on this lap. We'll wait to see how these drivers go. Looks like Cam Edwards is going to be the next cork in the bottom here at Reese. Because that's what I think. Definitely looking for a way past ASOP.
Yeah, Kuznetsov knows that he just about has the championship in the bag at this point, but he still wants to try and finish as high up as he can to protect that margin in the slipstream of Cam Edwards coming down Conrod Straight. And it looks like it's going to be picked up nicely coming up across the top of the hill. What does Edwards do? He maintains the line. Kuznetsov might see the chance to go by here at the chase. Breaks a tiny bit later, but it's not quite enough. Cam Edwards holds on to the position.
Now watch here for perhaps even Simon Mazono, teammate to Kuznetsov, to eye something off here in the Murrays. He thinks about it for half a moment, decides that he's not going to bomb his teammate there, who is running somewhat middle of the road as well to protect that position too, as basically all our leaders stay out another lap here as we get lap 7 underway at speed. So drivers still looking to go long here rather than get this pit stop over and done soon. By the looks of things, that's machine moving up as they climb up the hill once again.
Edwards, no surprise that he stays defensive into Griffin's Bend, will force Kuznetsov to take the outside line and sees no other choice but to fall back in line. We've seen it more times than I can count. Not possible to get a move done up the inside, up the outside of Griffin's Bend, and well, meanwhile, Kuznetsov trying again up the inside of the dipper. Well, I mean, this has been a good defensive drive from Cam Edwards so far, hasn't it? So good, in fact, that it has allowed David Hughes to really skip away here in what is now third place. Stanley and Christensen, meanwhile, looks like the gap is steadily closing between the two of them for the lead of the race.
Yeah, if I can just try and grab here your race. There you go. There's your top two. They'll come to screen here down the other. Watch here for Razigo. So there's Hughes in third. And then there's Edwards, Kuznetsov, Mazomo, and Dodds. Just not too big of a gap at the moment, Reese, but it's just starting to eke out ever so slightly there as they then work their way down Conrad Straight once again, and slipstream strong. And also looks like Christensen going side by side with Stanley for the lead as well.
Yeah, indeed. That's 2 passes made there. Christensen now ahead of Stanley coming into the chase, and Kuznetsov finally gets past Cam Edwards in the Jazzmat Steel Fabrications entry. Mazomo will try and find his way past now. Didn't look like the best of exits for Cam Edwards, but he doesn't leave Mazomo the space on the inside to go for the move. Once again, Cam Edwards driving with his mirrors. I think at this point he is desperately trying to keep them behind as long as he can. That's deep for Dodds. Meanwhile, goodness, he almost cleaned up Mazomo's rear end there as Christensen gets the fastest lap of the race. Kuznetsov then gets past David Hughes up into the top 3. And Mazomo might try on Edwards here at Griffin's Bend. Oh, contact as they come across the hill. How deep does Mazomo go? Can he hold the outside line? He can, only just, but there's more contact and Edwards gets back through.
And now Harry Dodds wants a piece of the pie on Mazomo. Side by side up towards the check. Oh, Dodds has just got the wall on the outside, but kept going there. Fortunate everyone's still going in the right direction here as it all begins to quickly get very exciting. This is just lap 8 of this race. Yeah, we're nearly 15 minutes into this one race, but looks like someone decided to let off the fireworks a bit early. given we've still got, over half the race to go and a pit stop. Everyone knows us.
Yeah, goodness, it's been a very chaotic race so far. Drivers that have visited the pits include Clint Harvey and Dale Atkins. Looks like Atkins just emerging from the pits, but I don't know if he took damage repair there. Still might be a little too early for them to make it home on fuel. They might have to hope for another safety car to get home on the fuel that they have. That's where they are, as everyone else is coming into the chase.
Yeah, there's also the fact that 5 seconds for Dale Atkins stationary doesn't quite work in terms of completing the compulsory. That there, 36 seconds for Clint Harvey. That more lines up with fuel, top off, and then the tyres required, given that they are done separately. There's McLean's dropping down the order in the 662, sorry. Down here at the chase, it looks like trouble for him. As also Harry Dodd's going to be the first one to the pit lane by the looks of things, jumping past a bunch of drivers, and indeed, he will come to the lane here, first of our drivers from the front of the field.
Yeah, righto. And it looks like Trevor Hearn is going to follow him in. I wonder if McLean will as well. No, actually, he won't. McLean will stay out a little bit longer. It was a bit of a spectacular incident that put McLean down there. Once again, it was done all on his own, Dan. Same thing we've seen once before tonight with Mike Pepper clipping the inside curb at the chase, and the car just got airborne on him. With the compression, it was impossible to recover.
And almost rolling itself fully in the gravel, which we both saw on Sunday morning.
We did.
The 2023 edition of the V8 Scops Bathurst 1000. Justin McLean, indeed, very lucky to avoid a similar kind of incident there, which could have easily been quite terminal in the race, because that would have been quite the shock there to the car. Well, there is a fast repair available, in fact 2 to be precise, so it's quite possible, you think then, they'd be able to get out there and fix things up if something did go a little bit sideways on them. But we'll watch them come down. Clean the 17th now. What have you got for me?
John Lee at Reed Park. Looks like he found the wall. He's going again, but unfortunately it looks like over the bump coming out of the cutting, he just lost control of the car. Aside from that, not really much to report.
Look at that one then, perhaps, and make some sense of it. So, as I said, all well through the cutting itself, but yeah, this lovely one here. Deceptive, and it's just, in fact, the car looked perfectly fine until all of a sudden it really wasn't.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell from the outside, isn't it? Managed to get off the racing line and allow another car through. I think that might have been Atkins or Levine. That's someone slow coming out of Murray's. It's Jackson Pringle, unfortunately, as looks like Dean Hunt is going for the pit lane. Yeah. Looks like Jackson Pringle, he tried to make a move on Cam Edwards coming out of the chase, but unfortunately was balked a little bit, and then faced a pass from Mike Holcroft and almost lost control on the exit of the final turn. So the second race is not quite going Jackson Pringle's way.
By definition, no, unfortunately not at all. Whilst we're looking further down the order and on replays, Rick Kuznetsov carving his way up towards the top 2 who have been able to stay out ahead of all the troubles even in the top 10 or so. And now you can see 1.2 off the race lead and just about 7/10 off of Brady Stanley there in second. And having now gapped everyone else. I think Simon Zoma only just getting by David Hughes in the somewhat recent history, meaning that he's been able to put a massive margin that now makes his life a little bit less stressful and easier as we're coming up to halfway in this final race of the season.
And our top 3 are together on the way down Conrod Straight. Looks like the gaps are a little too big for any big passes to be made at the chase. But of course, we've seen Brady Stanley with some very measuredly aggressive passes. Looks like he might be trying to get it done here. He's almost up to the back of Christensen, but Sam goes defensive. Still, that's very deep on the brakes there from Stanley. And Kuznetsov takes advantage, drawing right up to the back of them. Now, do any of these three go for the pit lane? They do not. They are going as long as they possibly can. Meanwhile, Cameron Edwards has lost another position. He's just been passed by, well, actually, no. He's defending from Neil Woodburn coming out of the chase as in the midst of this battle, Brody Watts decides to peel off and go for the lane. He's going to be followed in by Jesse McMenamin.
Oh, no.
And oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, dearie me. That's the exit of Murray's. That's what happens when two cars come together at the very exit of the corner there. And that has resulted in big damage for Cam Edwards and Peter Biancucci as well, I think. No, Biancucci came up on that.
Neil Woodburn, I think, was the other one there.
It was, yeah. And I think it was Edwards just getting a little bit of oversteer on the exit of Murray's, getting into the inside of Woodburn.
Interesting here into the final corner. Woodburn defending on the inside. We'll see if this one's here. As you called it, a little bit of oversteer as Edwards tried to power down there. Neil Woodburn unfortunately gets tagged. There's both of them in the wall a little bit. They do keep going, but yeah, lost positions, a bit more damage to both cars. They'll carry on for the time being.
Yeah, and only just. Edwards is looking more battered and bruised every time we look at him. It's been a very difficult second race for him after fighting for the lead early on. Here's Kuznetsov once more, trying to go for the race lead here behind the top two of Christensen and Stanley. Up Conrod Straight, it's looking like the draft is very strong there right at the end, but seems like he just needs a few hundred more meters to really go for the move. He's going to try it anyway. That's a bit early on the brakes there for Sam Christensen. And he just about leaves the room for Brady Stanley on the exit. And there we go. Race leader into the lane as Kuznetsov tries up the inside of Stanley into Murray's corner. Stanley sees him coming and gives him the room. Kuznetsov to the race lead.
Yeah, that's what he needs now, because while they've been fighting, look at the margin that Mazzo's been able to cut back into these guys. In fact, let me now bring up the top three on the road once again here in the bottom right of screen. We'll go to our last laps around. A very nice 2-second cut gain there by Simon Mazzo, by virtue of not being in a battle pack. Now, because that's up ahead, might not have so much pressure because he's already clear and not under threat of turn 2. We'll see if Stanley's got any last attempts to be able to try and really challenge Triple Eight here, which might just give Mazzomo a way back into this one after he got stuck behind David Hughes. Only about 2, maybe 3 laps max.
Well, Christensen is joined in the lane by Edwards, Holcroft, Biancucci, and Akers. And now we're expecting pit stops to run about 36 to 39 seconds. That's what I've seen so far from everyone who's pitted so far. Christensen in the pits. Yeah, that's a bit of a long stop there for Christensen, and Edwards too, probably getting some damage repaired. Looks like Holcroft is going to jump him. Finally off the jacks. He's going to lose another position too to Biancucci.
Yeah, 38 seconds is not a shocking stop there for Cam Edwards by what you're saying on numbers. It just, just have to wait a while before you get going. It does mean driver who's leader on pit strategy at this point is Harry Dodds here. Switch it over. You'll see here when everyone pitted. Ben Brayer's last pit stop up before, unfortunately for him, was a drive-through penalty for unsafe rejoin on lap 1. So that means that he just does overstop. It is number 981 Harry Dodds here in 12th, who is legitimately leader on pit strategy, and now up behind fellow racecraft stable car in John Lee. That needs to clear as your race leader will come to the pit lane here from there, and will be followed in by teammate Mazzomo. So 9-5 boys going to lock together on strategy there. Releases Brady Stanley for another lap here in the 5-4-3, and they've been joined by David Hughes and Ben Brayer for his actual stop as well. So Jackson Pringle's gone through to second. At this stage, let's see here, Neil Woodburn going to go through along with Sam DeRuel, Reese, Catherine Bettner and Hanson are going to split on their pit strategy here on the end of lap number 12.
That they are. Now, I noticed that Mazomo made up a lot of time on pit entry on Kuznetsov. Rick was a little bit more conservative on the brakes. So I think Mazomo will definitely be in the fight for the podium here. It all depends on whether or not Stanley, Pringle, etc. are able to get an overcut on them, as Kuznetsov is already away, Mazomo away too. Looks like Mazomo actually had the quicker pit stop by about 0.6 of a second. So making up some good time. And they both come out just ahead of Harry Dodds. That's crucial there for Mazomo. Dodds was right on the back of him earlier. And Dodds, of course, having already taken his pit stop. Dodds' pit stop was even faster, but Mazomo was putting in some fantastic laps when he came into the pits. You know, it's not just about the time you take in the lane. It's about the laps you do into and out of the pits.
Yeah, as I've just got, speaking of the laps into the pits at the very least, the comparison here between Rick Kuznetsov and Simon Mazomo. Look at that there, though. Cold tyres for the 954 means he's under a lot of pressure from Harry Dodds. Interestingly, when you said that the pit entry in particular looked good for Mazomo, those second numbers suggest perhaps it was more just an overall in-lap. A couple of tenths in every sector seemed to be the trick there rather than massive gains on pit entry in particular. Nevertheless, Mazomo here now being hustled as he tries to make sure he doesn't overdrive the car here on cold rubber, because he's only about 2 seconds behind teammate Kuznetsov, and he wants to hang on to this spot, of course. Harry Dodds would most definitely like to take it away from him, whilst Mazomo is getting things up to speed, though not checked up a bit too much then, I think, at the dipper, which means that looks like 954 will be safe down Conrad Straight this time at least.
Yeah, looks like Harry Dodds didn't get a very good exit from that corner at all, as our top four are in the lane. Stanley, Pringle, Woodburn and Darua. Looks like, will Philip Caffrey make his way in? Yes, he will. So that only leaves John Lee to take a pit stop. I would expect him to rapidly follow these guys in. Oh dear, that's a bit of a problem there for David Hughes. That's a shame for him, fighting up top early on. Oh no! That's Holcroft, who's missing his rear wing. That looks like one heck of an incident down Conrad Straight.
Oh, and it's taking Ben Breyer with him.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, Kuznetsov has come out behind Stanley. Right. And actually, yeah, so Stanley has come out ahead of Kuznetsov, rather. We'll keep an eye out for that
Safety
incident.
cargo has just been called as well, by the way.
Okay. So this is crucial here. Stanley managing to keep the race lead. How long will he be able to hold off Kuznetsov when we go green again?
Yeah, that's going to be a question. So that's how he's done it, Reese. Pit stop time in the box there next to all the driver names. 1.5 seconds less time stationary. Looks to have been all the trick that was needed there for the 543 to take that race lead back. Also potentially the overcut there, staying on warmer tyres, also means that just that perhaps lap there where he might have had a slight pace advantage over cold tyres on Kuznetsov. Only problem is, now Stanley's going to have cold tyres, and they're not going to get much warm quickly here. Obviously they'll slow down once they eventually get back around to be picked up by the safety car. But it will compress everyone, of course. Let's see how things go for this second restart of the night.
Indeed. I would suggest 2 angles in this order for the replay of Holcroft and Breyer. Probably external cams on Holcroft, and then an onboard of Breyer for the second look at the incident, because I've just viewed it on my end, and oh my lord, it is brutal.
All right, so here's Holcroft starter. That's not what you like to see the starter. Already loose. Oh dear, oh no.
Yeah, and here's the big oh no. He can't stop it, and in comes Breyer.
Oh yeah, that is horrendous in all the wrong ways.
Yeah, so true.
Is David Hughes completely independent of them there too going past?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe just trying to avoid them. He lost control. I'm not sure. Here's Breyer. And he sees it happening for Holcroft ahead, and he's thinking, okay, which way do I go? Which way do I go? And yeah, just before it happened, I mean, it's a split-second decision. What could you do in that situation?
Yeah, basically none. You can see they're completely cranked on the steering. You can kind of see the left rear is all kinds of broken and busted. And unfortunately, that was going to be his day. Come back. David Hughes there, yeah, completely independent incident. Oh, in fact, actually, no, we need to go back a little further and pick this up. All right.
Okay, that's a big ouchie. Is that Breyer behind him?
It is Breyer, yep.
It is, yeah. He was trying, but just very difficult to run side by side in that area of the racetrack and clog at the end of the tyre bundle for his troubles. I'd be interested to find out what exactly happened to Holcroft up ahead. I mean, you see it's hidden by the sign, but yeah, look at that damage for Hughes. It's just too much at this stage. You can't continue. Cam Edwards, I tell you what, he absolutely was almost out of control there. So this is where the issues begin for Holcroft, I think.
Yeah, it was a
wall brush.
Second hit on the inside, so both sides of the car have now taken a hit, and that's done it.
Oh, yeah, so he wasn't even in control of the car at the time. It was probably like the right rear or something, and he tried, but it's unfortunate there for Mike Holcroft, and then wham!
Go one more time external, so there were two hits here, one to the right side of the car through this little kink, there. So he gets it there. I think, yeah, as you said, the right rear does take the hit. And then on the apex, gets it where it juts out, probably with the left front. Oh, yeah, the right rear is definitely gone. Good call. Yeah. And, yeah, you can just see it. It's subtle, but, yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And, of course, the nature of this circuit being a public road, driveways come straight onto it, results in a lot of hefty bumps for you if you run off the track on Conrod Straight. So that is unfortunate for Holcroft and Breyer. But it does mean that we are under safety car. That safety car period will end very soon. And it will be down to Brady Stanley to try and hold off Rick Kuznetsov, who is effectively our champion-elect, just for the last, I'd say, 4 or so laps of the race when we get back to green flag running.
Yeah, it's going to come down to, yeah, it should be 4 laps here. By the time they get down to the start-finish line here, it's safe, yeah, with safety car pace, it definitely will only be 4 laps at the line because you're doing 205s, 204s out on the track. It's going to mean, yeah, be well inside that threshold there by the time they get back around and up to speed, as confirmation of the radio race safety car will be in at the end of this lap and is about to pull away from the field and will put the field in the hands of Patrick Stanley, or Brady Stanley, apologies, once more there in that 543 machine.
Okie dokes. With under 8 minutes left on the clock, and it'll probably take them about a minute to get to the line here. I would, presume it is going to be 4 laps to the end, but only just. Might be on the verge of 3, depending on how long it takes Brady Stanley to get across the line. Let's see then. What Kuznetsov needs to focus on is if he's going to be aggressive passing Stanley, he needs to do it cleanly. He cannot afford to make a mistake and finish down the order or retire. Remember, he's not quite out of the woods in terms of the championship. If he finishes 8th or below and Mazomo wins, then Mazomo is the champion. So keep an eye out for that. That's the deal. This is how things stand as Brady Stanley goes on the apex of Murray's, and the second restart is underway. What we're hoping is the final one for tonight. Into turn 1, Stanley nice and controlled, so is Kuznetsov though. And he wasn't quite able to get away from Mazomo. Simon's going to try and follow him through here because he's still got to defend from Harry Dodds, who is sticking with the top 3.
Of course he is, but there we go. Clean run and draft for Kuznetsov up the inside of Stanley here for the lead of the race. And Stanley tries to defend the spot too. And he's going to get hung out to dry on the outside of Griffins, and Mazomo right underneath the gearbox of Kuznetsov will make it a 2-for-1 special as a result there. So Patrick Stanley is a... I said Patrick, I'm so sorry, Brady. I know why I'm saying it. I just don't know. I know who I'm talking about. I don't know why I'm even saying it in the first place. Valiant effort. I hope that wasn't too bad on the server side, because that was nasty there. And I don't think that bodes well if that's what's happened there in Philly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there for Brady Stanley. He's now open to an attack from Harry Dodds, who's going to be right in the slipstream coming onto Conrod Straight. Wouldn't go for the move at Forest Elbow, surely. I mean, he does stay very close, but you'd rather save the advantage for the slipstream down Conrod. It'll certainly give you a better advantage, and you'll be able to get it done cleaner without losing as much time. Immediately, Dodds pulling out, and you see the straight line speed difference, even with a tiny bit of slipstream. They draw equal on the run into the chase, and it looks like it's not fought by Brady Stanley at all. He's going to gear himself up potentially for a maneuver in the last couple of laps. Meanwhile, Sam Christensen defending from Jackson Pringle here for 5th place. Looks like he's actually just gotten that move done as Dean Hunt got crossed up there in the Frog Elite juiced car. And it looks like he's going to have to defend here from Brody Watts. Does manage to do that, and what that does is open up an attack for Justin McLean, who's had a very difficult night trying up the inside into turn 1. Remember, McLean qualified 4th for race 1, finished down in 28th with a penalty. Now he's back up to 9th place, I believe. No, 8th. That's an incredible run from Justin McLean.
Positions gained on the tower as well. You can see that, Kuznetsov, Dodds, and Dean Hunt making double digits nicely. But yeah, without a doubt, Justin McLean, biggest winner in race 2 here, up 20, and could make this 22. 21 might be a fair shout first of all, because Dean Hunt looking all kinds of crossed up there on the exit of the cutting as they climb the mountain once more. There'll be 2 laps to go once they get back to the start-finish line at the end of lap 17 here, so it will be a 19-lap race for the final one of the season, as Hunt was wide, had to bet way out of the throttle there for me. Clean. Oh, but it forces Hunt to go down the runoff.
Yep, straight on at the S's, and careful on the blend back in. Looks like he did it safely. Will have earned himself a slowdown for that, though. Hopefully he clears it by the time they get to Conrod. Otherwise, Clint Harvey is going to be right on his gearbox. The top 3 still close. Harry Dodds desperately wants a win here, and he'll do anything he can to overcome the 9-5 duo of Mazomo and Kuznetsov. But he's just a little too far back to really take advantage. This is the real strength of Rick and Simon at the front. They've been able to work together really well as teammates. They have controlled this event from the very moment the green flag dropped for race 1. Kuznetsov able to just back off enough to keep Mazomo in his slipstream. Conversely, Mazomo, so quick, he has been able to stick with Kuznetsov, who's been more or less the dominant driver in qualifying for most of the season.
For a second here, and while we can see in that particular couple of corners, he's dropped a fair way back, unfortunately. So this might be quite the effort to get back into the fight here. Check that a little bit. There's also Sam Christensen catching up on Brady Stanley there. So P4 potentially up for grabs as well here in the closing laps, and then they are trained up behind Jackson Pringle. Justin McLean in particular, racy here, and could make that 22 spots gain. There's another good run through the cutting compared to the car ahead of him here. Yeah, tries to set something up across the top perhaps.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's hard to pass in this section of the track. Justin McLean, though, a very tenacious driver. So is Jackson Pringle. Probably not going to be moving to Skyline, though. You see he's vaulting it into McPhillamy Park and even gets a run on him on the exit of McPhillamy too, but he has to back off for the run down the hill. It's always single file in this section of the circuit, unless it's the absolute final lap and someone tries a Hail Mary move. Probably not going to be a run into Forest Elbow either. Gets on the brakes a little bit earlier, allows Pringle to take the turn, focus on the exit, keep the car as straight as possible. Now Conrad picking up the slipstream nice and early. Pringle stays middle of the road, blending to driver's right. He's going to try and defend here into the entry to the chase, but I think McLean's got too much of a run here to really defend against it. Gives him barely enough room. Pringle just managing to keep control of the car as they make their way into the braking zone. A tiny bit of contact on the way through, and it looks like Pringle has lost that one. He's going to have to focus on the three chasing cars behind now. Watts, Hunt, and Harvey.
Yeah, he might be given a breather by Brodie Watts there, defending from Dean Hunt. As I come around Murray's here, and just in the corner of screen, we'll see up on the timing stand there, Barney with the white flag in hand. There's a lock break, including Harvey up the inside. Dean Hunt, though, in turn one, the lock break was further on back, and position not resolved here. Drag race now coming for these two as they'll work their way up the hill. On board with Neil Woodburn in behind them. Harvey going to be unlikely to make this work here at turn two, Reece, but I guess you can't say never. There goes the pinch.
That's almost a carbon copy of what happened between Brady Myers and Jared Filsell in the Scops 1000 on Sunday. Unfortunately, the same result happens. The car on the outside knocked to the exit of the corner and loses all momentum, and that sealed it there for Dean Hunt, I think. Harvey's going to have to defend from Woodburn, Biancucci, and Edwards. Meanwhile, our front of the field looks like it's completely fizzled out, that battle in the top three. There's still positions to be made here on the final lap. Jackson Pringle now facing off against this man, Brodie Watts, who's certainly been a quick driver in all incarnations of this series, especially back when they were driving the Porsche 911 RSR, the GTE machine, moving to the Porsche 911 Cup car for this season, and that's the run that Brodie Watts would have wanted. Could this be the move he needs to get into 7th place? He picks up the slipstream on Pringle, and Jackson this time stays middle of the road. Which side do you go if you're Brodie Watts? To the right, apparently, and down into the chase they will come. Looks like he's going to try and defend this one, stick it up the inside into the corner, but Watts gets it. Meanwhile, up the front, crossing the line, Rick Kuznetsov. And that, I think, will confirm it. Rick Kuznetsov for 9.5 Sim Sports, your champion for Southern Cross ESports Winter Series 2023. Massive drive from him. Brady Stanley's going to finish in 4th place in the end. John Akers trying to find a way past here for 15th place, and it's a drag race to the line. I think he's just going to not get it, as someone went off there on the exit of the chase. That's Caffery, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot of cars all over the place all of a sudden there at the end, and with that will be the last couple of cars across the line. Believe that should get a chance to now start getting to our race results.
Yeah, indeed it will.
He's done the car any favours there with that one.
Well, the car's done its job, hasn't it? He doesn't need to worry about that rear wing doing anything anymore. Kuznetsov by 1.3 seconds from Mazzomo. Domination. In the final round, he seals the title. Simon Mazzomo will secure 2nd in the championship, with Harry Dodds finishing in 3rd spot. Brady Stanley and Sam Christensen rounding out the top 5 there. Justin McLean with a massive fight up from 28th to 6th. In that second race, Brodie Watts from 16th to 7th. Jackson Pringle ultimately finishes where he started in 8th. It was a really interesting race from his perspective. Dean Hunt gets into the top 10. Meanwhile, Clint Harvey loses a few spots, but still gets a 10th place finish for his troubles.
He does indeed. Neil Woodburn will be the first one looking outside the 10 here with an 11th place finish. Dropped 5 spots, unfortunately, in the process. Behind him, Peter Biancucci up from P20 to finish P12 here in the final race of the season. Barry Punter up 6 places as well from 19th there for the final race as well for the 440 in this season. Trevor Hearn, unfortunately, trouble for him, sees him down 9 spots to 14th. Plus 12, another solid gain for a driver here tonight in the form of John Akers there in the number 87. So from coming from 17th, good job to get to 15th place there tonight. Unfortunately, David Hughes, damage for him there in that big incident. Well, also, the pair of incidents there triggered the second safety car tonight. And number 10 going down the order as a result. Jesse McGann a couple of spots down from 13th to 17th for his night to be done there in the 27. 5 spots gained for John Lee to 18th. 2 spots gained for Bent Johansson to 19th place. And plus 4 for Philip Caffrey in the 64 to round out our top 20.
Finishing in 21st, Michael Thompson, and last 2 finishers on the lead lap were Dale Atkins and Cam Edwards. Sam Darua and Greg Levine both a lap down. Holcroft and Bray are retiring 4 laps from the end with that huge crash that brought out the second safety car. Mike Pepper and Connor Nixon also retiring from this one. Big shame for those drivers. Not the way that they wanted to end their season, but certainly the best way possible to end the season for Rick Kuznetsov, who I think we can confirm is our Southern Cross Esports Winter Series champion for this year. Rick, congratulations once again. It was a case of you being the fastest car out there and just trying to work your way cleanly to the front, but it must have been difficult around Bathurst.
Yeah, it was probably one of the trickiest tracks past, to be honest. I was pretty safe, didn't make any super moves. But yeah, got it done in the end, which is nice.
Yeah, certainly was. Were there any incidents that you thought you'd narrowly avoided? It seemed like every big incident that happened on the track, you were on the other side of the circuit.
Yeah, pretty thankful for that, to be honest. I was pretty worried with the reverse grid race that will be in the chaos. But I was pretty lucky tonight, to be honest.
And what about the pit strategy? You guys, you and Simon, obviously going for the pits a lap earlier than Brady Stanley and co. Did you anticipate that you would have the pace to get past him eventually, even with the tyre warm-up phase?
Yeah, I was trying to. It's pretty hard to pass, so I wasn't gonna sit back in P2, but surprised he didn't really fight it, to be honest. But I nearly cooked out of the pits as well, so that was a bit of a moment.
Well, regardless, it's a win on the board in both races. A perfect night for you, including pole position for race 1. So, championship is yours. Will we expect you back for the next season of Southern Cross Esports?
Most likely. Depends what car it is, I guess. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
As are we, Rick. Well, the floor is yours. Who would you like to thank for your performances tonight and your championship title?
Yeah, big thanks to Mez all season for his work. It was really enjoyable racing with him. Big shout out to 95 Sim Sports, Racecraft Simulations, Tony Race Apparel, RSW Graphics, and Racing Ease for the support.
Oh, there we go. Rick Kuznetsov joining us in the commentary box there. In second place in both races, Dan, it was Simon Mazzomo with another sterling performance from the second of our 9.5 cars.
Indeed it was, Mez. Obviously hoping to try and chase down Rick and maybe turn the championship situation around here tonight, but unfortunately not quite able to do so. But nevertheless, you bag a pair of seconds to be able to consolidate the season. Hopefully that's a pretty good job, all things considered.
Yeah, surprisingly, I had a decent amount of pace. I was genuinely holding on to the back of Rick in the first race, and I was kind of half thinking of might actually have a go at. I honestly didn't think I'd ever run for the championship, but pace in the first race was really good, so I was like, I might have a go, but nah, it sort of went away from me. So it was pretty much done in the first race. Unless something really bad happened to Rick, I definitely wasn't going to have a shot at it. So yeah, it was just the whole thought process going in was just consolidate first and second. We knew Ben was going to be quick. We knew he was going to be a challenge. Fortunately for Ben tonight, everything just seemed to go wrong for him. So yeah, that was the goal, was finish the job, and yeah, we did it. 1-2.
Indeed, yeah. Obviously, a couple of safety cars there in that final race with the stops and everything. In fact, when the first safety car came out there, we were thinking maybe you guys would come down to the lane. I was somewhat informed that, yeah, obviously, despite the fact is that 35-odd minute pit window there, and the safety car came out almost 10 minutes into the race. In the end, no one came to the pit lane there. So clearly, you guys had done the numbers there, and well, at least knew what your fuel number was, and just had to wait there for that green flag cycle. We ended up going for the pit lane later on in the race. I'm presuming it was fuel that was the trigger for that one there.
Yeah, it was fuel. We were looking at our numbers and just thinking what we could do. If it came probably a lap later, we probably would have pitted, but it was literally like 2 liters in it. That's all it was. So we knew, it was just too line ball to call it, and really we were sort of half dictated by what everyone in front of us done. No one pitted, so it was just an easy call. Like we were 99.9% confident we weren't going to pit, but when we saw everyone else not pit, we thought, no, we'll go with the rest of the field. We know we all have to pit. Those that pitted, we weren't sure if they were going to have enough to get home. If they did, I don't know if the ones that pitted earlier would have been able to get home. But yeah, that was basically it. That was our trigger at that point, was wait until we can get home. And kind of worked out well anyway. We ran the tanks out as much as we could, and then pitted when we thought it was the right time.
Yeah, well, as it turned out, no one came to the pits in the first safety car. There were a couple of cars that had damage and came in outside the compulsory window. Well, with that concluding the season and being runner-up for you there for this one, Mez, will we be potentially seeing you back for a future edition of the Southern Cross ESports Championship Series, which we presume, with the way things have been with these guys here, that we might be seeing another season of some sort come up in a couple of months' time for over the summer months?
We'll see what they do. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of fixed setup, so we'll see. Surprisingly tonight, actually, I feel sorry for Cam if he's sort of laying into him a little bit about the setup, but tonight was probably actually the best that car has ever felt. Like, surprisingly, it felt really, really good tonight. So it made it really enjoyable. But yeah, just see what happens. If it's a fixed setup, depending on what car it is, we'll play it by ear. I'm not going to commit to anything straight away. So, but no, if it's interesting and it looks fun, then I'd almost say that we'll be back for another one.
Well, hopefully, look forward to seeing what you do in that case, Mez. And before we let you go here, to wrap things up, floor is yours. Who do you want to thank for tonight's results and the championship, of course, as well?
Well, big congrats to Rick. He did an awesome job the entire season, and thanks for him doing this series with me. It's been a lot of fun. Took me until the final round to finally be as quick as him, so better late than never. But big thanks to the team. Big thanks to Sean. He's been sort of motivating us a little bit to keep it going, which is much appreciated. And everyone else at 95 Sports and our sponsors, Racecraft, Turning Race Apparel, RSW Graphics, Racing Ears, and Prestige Cinematography. And big thanks to Cam and everyone who runs the league and you guys for the broadcast every week. Much appreciated.
There we are. P2 tonight for the round. P2 for the championship there, Reese, with Simon Mazzomo. And that leaves us with just one final driver on the road here to chat with, at least Harry Dodds. I'll hand back to you to have a chat with him for his positions here to round out the night.
Yeah, goodness me, Harry. That was quite the interesting round from you. Race 1 obviously was a bit chaotic with you not having the best of runs, but looks like you made up for it in race 2.
Yeah, well, when you think about it, this track was a bit of a curse to me on Saturday night when you look back at Scops. But yeah, it was it was good to have a bit of redemption after the couple of incidents early on. But yeah, I was really fired up in the feature, and managed to really charge my way forward.
Yeah, it's interesting actually looking at your results. Started third in race 1, finished 15th. Started 15th, finished third for race 2. So I suppose net even for positions gained or lost throughout the night. And the points that you got in race 2 have managed to net you 7th in the championship by season's end. So overall, it looks like a pretty good season, just looking at the numbers. What is your personal view on it?
When I really think about it, there's probably a few rounds where I could have had a bit more consistency involved, but that's racing really. And then, if I'm honest, I'm actually not that bothered about it at the moment, though, because I did miss a couple of rounds due to other commitments elsewhere. But yeah, with what else could I've really done really this? But yeah, I was just really lucky to have a really fast car tonight, and that was really, to me, what got me over the line.
Well, over the line it was, and a podium in the final race of the season. Harry, anyone you'd like to thank for your result?
First of all, big shout to my teammate and co-owner of Southern Cross ESports, Dean Hunt. He put a lot of effort into getting this series all set up for everyone, and also big shout to my team, Froglet Juice Racing, our sponsors, Hyperion Systems, Racecraft Simulations, Simrigs.com, Juiced Energy, and the Pet Store Company, and our new recent sponsor. I think it was a partnership. I don't really know, but Sudspeed, Race Apparel, and yeah, there we are.
Harry Dodds getting a podium at Bathurst in race 2. And finally, we're going to round off this season with a chat with one of our series organisers here at Southern Cross ESports, Cam Edwards, with us in the comms box. Well, Cam, another successful season of Southern Cross ESports in the books.
Yes, that's true, Reese. Had some good competition throughout the year, but Rick showed us a clean pair of heels when it counted and managed to take the win, so it was good.
Certainly was. Were you expecting race 2 at Bathurst to go the way it did? I mean, safety cars are always a possibility at a track like this, and I suppose it's something that everyone goes into a race at this track expecting, but what was your personal view on that?
Oh, look, I think the safety cars were warranted, but we go to an iconic track like this and we all know that it's one line across the top of the mountain, and some people still want to put a nose in where it shouldn't be, and then all of a sudden there's an accident, or there's people who are just trying too hard too early and they spin in front of people and then there's an accident. But it's the nature of the beast. It's one of those iconic tracks where it's high risk, but it's richly rewarding when you get a lap right. It's just it's a very fine line between both.
It is, but I think you were one of the drivers who walked that fine line to a point in races 1 and 2. Moving on to championship discussion, do you know when we can see a summer series potentially forming?
We're in discussions with it at the moment, a few different options floating around, hopefully starting the summer series in the first week of November. With some new race formats and potentially a new car. So we'll be announcing that hopefully in the next week or two of what the plan is. We'll have to have a chat with Jay again and you guys to make sure we have the high quality production and commentary that we've had for the last 4 seasons. We want to continue with that. And then, we'll go from there.
Awesome stuff, Cam. Well, I definitely look forward to seeing the news brought out about Southern Cross Esports Summer Series, but Winter Series is now at a close. Is there anyone you'd like to thank for your results and series partners as well?
Oh, it's a huge thanks to John and Barry from V8 Drive Day and VRace for being the primary partner for us for the last 4 seasons. You can't do things like this without their support. Pip Allen from Word of Mouth Signs. He's been with us from day dot as well, and he supports the series, and it's also awesome to have a local business like that on board. Paul Brockbank from PPD, he came on board this year, and it's great to have a new person in the series, and Paul competed a couple of rounds as well, so hopefully we can keep him coming back for the new season. A huge thanks to all the drivers for putting up with my constant emails and constant reminders on Discord and Facebook, but without their support, again, we couldn't have fields like 30 cars like we had tonight, so that's awesome. And finally to Glenn Annette from Jazzmat for always coming on board with me, Lux Performance, Nitro Formula and Juiced Energy Drink. yeah, it's just been great. And I also have to have a big thank you to Ross Dallin from RSW Graphics, who he does most of the deliveries for, I think, 70 or 80% of the grid. So, and he makes them look special. So without him and his constant support, you know, the cars would look pretty average, but they look special when you look at them on the TV and on the broadcast.
Fantastic stuff. Well, Cam Edwards will go back into the race organisers chair now, and we'll continue working on the Southern Cross Esports Summer Series, which, like he mentions, should be starting sometime in November, and certainly hoping that SimSpeed TV will be back once again to bring you all of that action. The conclusion of another season, Dan, and certainly a pleasure once more.
Yeah, without a doubt. Great racing up the front there. Between both, our drivers like Rick Kuznetsov and Simon Zomo with their championship positions, consolidating those there tonight, but also the drivers who are able to be up the front in either race 1 there, as well as at the start of race 2 as well. Guys like Brady Stanley there and Dave Hughes for a period of time as well. It was good to see that up the front. And all in all, for 2 races, just over an hour's worth, went pretty nicely indeed when it comes to getting some good racing on the board there this evening.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for watching and for staying with us through this whole season of the Southern Cross Esports Winter Series. Once again, a big thanks to the series partners V8 Drive Day Perth, VRace Experience, Word of Mouth Signs, and PPD Performance 4x4. And make sure to chuck us a subscribe on SimSpeed on YouTube. We are SimSpeed Esports Network on Facebook as well. I'm Reese Gardner, Dan Yeaman with me in the comms box and in the producer's chair. We will see you next time.